Good evening, folks. This is Deb and Dave. This is the Factivist report for Sunday, the 7th of July, and we are talking about candidates tonight. Nope, we're not talking about the debate. Nope. We're not talking about any of that because we're done with that bullshit. That is mainstream media bullshit, okay? We are moving on here. We have an election to win. We know Donald Trump cannot be allowed back in the White House. We've, if anybody hasn't figured that out by now, I can't help you. We have things to do that are beyond the White House. We have to expand the Senate. We have to defeat the MAGA House and bring back our people. Okay, we have to bring order and some kind of, public service back to our government, because we don't have a functioning democracy right now because one side of the aisle is intent on bringing in authoritarian rule, and it can't work this way. So we're back on candidates tonight.
And also, some of these have already won their primaries. Some of them are in the middle of a primary. One thing that I will say is that for those who are in a state that still has primaries, you have a choice within the party. You're seeing within the Democratic Party, there's some candidates who are farther to the left, and there are some who are so moderate that they have worked with Republican candidates before. They're being called Republican light. They worked with candidates who had an anti-choice platform. So be very, very careful who you're looking at for your Democratic candidates. They may say one thing. I don't want to go down that road again. I don't want to have a Joe Manchin. I don't want to have a Kristen Sinema. I don't want to have a Henry Cuellar to deal with. We already have one in George Latimer. He won. That's the bottom line. He won the primary. He may or may not win. It's either going to be a Republican or it's going to be him. But we don't need any more. We'll talk about that later on in the show with Cori Bush versus Wesley Bell. But what I want to focus on this show is how do you fight fascism? By slowly seeding and putting in the pipeline diverse candidates and candidates who will represent everybody. A lot of LGBTQIA plus candidates out there. I will try to say that in full, but if I don't, it's LGBTQ plus. Please, I'm trying. I'm giving it my shot. I have given my all here. I don't want to run out of breath, but there's a lot of those candidates, a lot of Hispanic candidates, DSA candidates. There are those candidates coming in the pipeline. One of the rising stars in the Democratic Party won her primary in 2018. She's AOC. So that's how you move up in the system. But you also need people in the state who support your platform as well. And I will get into all of that. So let's start the show by sharing the screen. First, I have to get in the screen, and there we go. So we've already talked about this.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Gives me a headache.
We've talked about the top of the ticket. The top of the ticket is very important. We understand that. Number one.
Here's another. Let me just point out this little pussy headline. Supreme Court opinion conferring broad immunity could embolden Trump. Are you shitting me? It could. Oh, well, he's already tried to overthrow the government once. It might embolden him. Get the goddamn.
This is from the Associated Press, too. I'm just saying.
The AP. The Associated Pussies. I just can't. I can't. Cowards.
The Supreme Court has given Trump
The king.
absolute power.
To the kingdom, okay?
And by the way, Joe Biden is not using this right now.
Joe Biden has said he will not use it ever.
Right. And before anybody goes down that road, because people who have TikTokers, social media people, they mentioned it. Oh, Biden could send out CO2. Oh, we're going to send FBI, blah, blah, blah. You guys are, oh my God, the gaslighting is fucking ridiculous.
The bottom line, you pack of lunatics, is that, quite frankly, the Supreme Court is as corrupt as Donald Trump now because he built the Supreme Court.
Right. Number one, we have to keep Donald Trump out of office. Number two, we have to build the Senate and retake the House and build the Senate back as much as we possibly can. Because we do need Supreme Court reform. Now, Biden has kind of been mid on it. He's not pushing as hard as he can. He did mention the Supreme Court decision, which he said was horrendous, but he's not doing anything right this second. I know what AOC said. Everybody needs to calm down on that too, because none of this means anything if Donald Trump actually gets in.
You know what? You know why Joe Biden's not doing anything? Because you need to understand something right now. As you know, great as it is that AOC is going to bring articles of impeachment, do you people realize that to impeach a Supreme Court justice, you need 2/3 of both the House and the Senate?
And the Senate.
To remove a Supreme Court justice. Now that we've lost the House, and please don't make me go down that road where I berate everybody again with a 9-seat lead, how we managed to piss that one out the window in 2022. Right. We're not going to impeach anybody, okay? It isn't going to happen unless you vote out MAGA in the House and vote out MAGA in the Senate and replace them with Democrats. Then we can talk about Supreme Court reform. We can't even reform the court without a strong Democratic majority, because the notion that the GOP is going to cross the aisle and unempower a Supreme Court that they built just for the express purpose of bringing us here is absurd on its face. And AOC knows that's going nowhere, okay?
For all of you who are saying, oh, we need Supreme Court reform.
Good for you.
And then turns around and questions Biden and his competency. You need the Democratic Party candidate to win the presidential election, because if he wins and then you have a Supreme Court justice have to leave, either they pass away or they have to retire for whatever reason, or they're expelled, whatever, then Biden will be able to appoint. But again, you need more of a majority in the Senate, because all of these votes on Supreme Court justices have been down partisan lines the last few times. Understand this.
Listen, let me put it to you as simply as I can. You win in November, you expand the Senate, you win back the House, Supreme Court reform is on the table. Supreme Court, enlarging the Supreme Court is on the table. If anybody should retire, then it's a progressive judge, because Joe Biden a week ago came out and said he will support and nominate progressive judges. All on the table. None of that's on the table right now. None of that's on the table unless we win in November. None of that. If we do not win in November, the Supreme Court remains exactly where it is, with the possibility that Donald Trump will appoint 2 more heavy-duty, long-lasting MAGA judges.
Now, this plan that I have in place, or this is one of the things that we need to do, will only work if Biden wins. But keep in mind, number one, Joe Biden appointed a historically diverse cabinet. That is a cabinet. That is his team. Joe Biden's administration is not just him. It's his administration. And he has championed diversity from day one. of his administration. Also keep in mind that not only an influx of Gen Z voters, young voters, naturalized citizens who are voting for the first time are also heading to the polls. What does this mean? An influx of diverse candidates. Now, I'm talking about candidates in state assembly races, in local judge races, in mayoral races, in school boards, all of that. So let's start with Tennessee, and it's Tennessee 3. We have Justin Jones, we have Justin Pearson, and we have Gloria Johnson. Both Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, I did not see them have any kind of opposition. I think they'll get in. Remember, Gloria Johnson is running against Marsha Blackburn. In order for these individuals to have some kind of support system, you also need people above them to continue the fight. And it's obvious that Gloria Johnson will. And I don't want to hear about dark horse candidates anymore either. If you're in Tennessee and vote for Gloria Johnson over Marsha Blackburn, God's sake. So remember, they were these three. Well, two of them were expelled: Justin Pearson and Justin Jones.
And by the way, Gloria Johnson, when the press asked her why she wasn't expelled, she was very blatantly honest. She said, because I'm a white woman. And you know what? She stood with them all through that whole thing. She did not care.
Yep.
She,
And not for nothing, I
you know
believe
what?
she
would
won
be
by
major
by one vote, I think.
She'd be a major upgrade over Marsha Blackburn. Let me tell you, intelligence and civility would reign supreme.
Right. So we have. Let me. All right. So this is Justin Pearson. Now, Justin Jones is basically doing the same thing, but look at all the legislation. A huge focus with Justin Pearson and Justin Jones is gun safety. So you'll see a lot of that. Liability insurance for firearm owners, Tennessee Instant Check System Improvement Act, eradicating gun violence with mental health care, preventing harm from gun violence, protecting children, not guns, preventing gun thefts from cars, ban high capacity magazines act, which, I mean, how is that controversial? Strengthening mental health care in Tennessee schools, secure storage for guns, and child access prevention, lost or stolen gun reporting act, and etc. So, racial and socioeconomic equity impact assessment. You think that's going to go through if Trump wins? No. Hmm. So here is Gloria Johnson. And she makes it a centerpiece of her campaign that she stood with those two gentlemen for gun safety in Tennessee. We have another a state assembly person in Montana. You remember Zoe Zephyr. I want to just show one thing in regards to her Ballotpedia page. This is her base salary. $104.86 a day. Per diem 171 a day. So she's she's not rich by any stretch of the imagination. A couple pieces of legislation she proposed: revised landlord tenant laws, which died in a standing committee, and prohibit panic defense and criminal proceedings. They claimed that it missed a deadline. I don't know the details on that. But one thing I will say about Zoe Zephyr is that she is the only politician to be invited to the World Forum for Democracy, which to me says something. This is about inclusion, yeah, and unifying.
All the stuff that drives the right wing crazy.
Yep. So we have an article here. Zoe Zephyr wants to do right by Montana, talks a little bit about her race, talks a little bit about how she was censured and basically, she was censored. She was basically kicked out of the chamber and had to vote outside the chamber room. So I will say that I don't know why it disappeared, but remember, oh, there it is. So remember, John Tester is running in Montana.
You need this guy.
We need him not only for Ms. Zephyr, who, by the way, the only reason she got in was because that portion or that section of Montana is considered extremely liberal.
Liberal oasis, they call it.
Yeah, it's a liberal oasis. Now, John Tester, yes, he's a Democrat. He's not considered to the left. He's a dirt farmer.
He's a Midwesterner. Listen to
He's a
us.
Midwestern guy.
He meets the needs of his constituency. He is representative of his constituents. He supports all the right things. He is what we need to win in that state, and he must win. Simple as that.
But Dave, what about I don't want to hear about the polls. I really don't. You vote for this guy, he wins.
That's right.
Okay, so next. We're going to Arizona. Haley Crichton. She's an LGBTQIA plus. See how I did that? Candidate.
Yeah.
She's running against Wendy Rogers in one of the most rabidly MAGA sectors of the country. We need to support this young lady. She's running in, for an assembly seat. People are saying there's no way in hell that she can win. Let's test it.
Wendy
Support
Rogers
her.
is a disgrace, honestly.
Right. Now, hold on. These are out of order. I do have an article on Holly, and I also have her her campaign page is right here. Okay. This is Legislative District 7. Okay. Right in the heart of MAGA, QAnon, Arizona. Need to support her. So, hold on. We have in Arizona also Cori Bush, who's running against Wesley Bell.
Missouri.
Now,
Missouri.
Oh, she's Missouri. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I blew that. Hold on. Arizona.
I'm firing you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fired.
There's an Arizona candidate. You know what? Can you pause it and just restart it?
I could. Okay, gang. Look, we had a glitch. We're back. So we're picking it up right from here. We're not going to re-record this whole
Thing.
Go ahead.
And by the way, if you want to drop us because we make mistakes, okay, go ahead.
Dave had a
Uh,
senior moment. Don't
yes,
worry about it.
exactly.
He's not too old to continue. Go ahead. Bunch of,
So my point being, you need support. You need support from the other from other candidates or for other politicians. Ruben Gallego has to win in Arizona.
absolutely.
And when you have someone like that in in state office, it helps the other candidates in your state. Maybe she doesn't win this time. Maybe Haley does not win. Oh, here's the article. Oh, it's my sources were all over the damn place. Okay. So meet the Gen Z candidate taking on one of Arizona's most MAGA Republicans. Young progressive queer candidate who uses they, she pronouns. I mean, you know, uh, there's another person running, but she looks amazing, supporter, but Ruben Gallego also has to win, obviously. So now we have let's see, a couple others. Claire Valdez, who I love. She's another candidate who is a champion of the gay rights movement, and she also identifies as queer. She won State Assembly District 37 in Western Queens. I know everybody's upset about Jamal, but this was to me a big deal. Here's a couple of things on her platform, or one thing about liberation, queer and trans rights and safety are under attack across the United States. New York must do more to become a leader in promoting that liberation, both by addressing these attacks directly and investing in housing, and healthcare. So I'm very happy about Claire getting in, but the support system that she already has is with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who won against Joe Crowley in 2018.
And who
Now,
must
she
be
didn't have
returned to the House.
to the House. Yes.
She must be returned to the House.
She won her primary handily, so that should, and she doesn't really have, if you vote for her, she'll get in. No, she has a pretty big majority, but vote for her. And she is a good support system for some of these other candidates.
She's excellent, actually.
Yeah. So the next one, Mary Peltola. She is Alaska. Gigich is the candidate running against her. That's the House seat in the sole House seat in Alaska. The thing with that election is it's kind of a conglomerate. You can have two Democrats. You can have it's the top two, I believe. I don't think it's top. I think it's the top two. So there's information there.
Peltola is truly representative of the people she serves.
Right.
She must be returned to the House. There's no question about it.
There are two candidates in California I wanted to mention as well, and both happen. They're gay candidates. Uh, this is Will Rollins, who he enjoyed a bump. The district was redistricted, friendly to his demographics, so he has a real shot.
They basically rolled Palm Springs into his district, which is so gay. And I have a friend
Right,
that lives there, and
right.
I wish it were me. And he has a real shot at winning that now and flipping that seat from a Republican. We need to make Will Rollins happen.
So, Evan Lowe has a chance for a state congressional seat as well. So take a look at him.
It's time, people. You know, MAGA wants to get rid of all diversity. That's not where we want to go.
So this is the Ballotpedia page for Alaska. I did have Cori Bush in here. I will be talking about her later. What I will say about the Cori Bush Wesley Bell race is that it's classic. You have a person who's a little more to the left. You have APAC who already donated a ton of money to George Latimer and defeated Jamal Bowman in the primary. They're trying the same thing with Cori Bush. What I said in that race is she needs to get back to bread and butter issues like housing, like abortion, like all of that, and she is doing so. People were afraid because they thought she was a little out there. She had an excerpt in her book talking about how, she claims to be a faith healer or something. None of that matters. What matters is her legislation and what she's trying to get through. Also, the infrastructure thing, which has been debunked. She was trying to get a better deal than the infrastructure bill that passed, but it didn't go through because of Joe Manchin. But I will be talking about all of that later. The Missouri primary will be coming up in a little bit. Wesley Bell, who is running against her, is what I consider a Republican-like candidate. He is a Democrat, but he was a campaign manager for a pro-life candidate like 10 or so years ago. We can't have any of this anymore. We can't move back to the center and maybe even a little farther, in my humble opinion. So I'll be doing that one. That was like the glitch. I had a moment there. But we will be talking more about that candidacy. She needs to stick with the bread and butter issues and stop, with APAC money and all of that. But I will say this. We have wait a minute. What is this? Oh, no, not that. I just had it.
Are you having another moment, Dave?
Maybe.
Are you having another
Scrap
moment?
the debate. Scrap the debate. All right, hold on. So here's the entire primary calendar. So we have, all right. The Missouri statewide primary, we have a little bit of time. It's in August. So we talked about Arizona and Alaska. Alaska's August 20th. Arizona is July 30th. We also have, well, I think it's either North or South Dakota, but it's South Dakota, I think. Yeah, it's at the, oh, that just happened, but they were uncontested primaries anyway. So check your calendar and take a look at these candidates, see if you want to donate it, throw a couple of dollars their way, or support them in any way, door knock, or do text banking, or phone banking. You can do all of that stuff from your computer at this point. But we have to continue from the state assembly races to the House races to the Senate races to the presidency. And support is important. We have to, the other thing is the Democratic Party has to stop this bickering like right now. Biden's the nominee. Unless he decides not to run. This is what it is. And the candidates that you pick in the primary are the candidates that we're going to have to run with in November. So check your primary schedule. If you haven't, there's a ton of them still in play. And let's move forward and let's just elect as many of these candidates as we possibly can.
Let me just read this to you people. Can we get rid of the screen for a minute?
Yeah, we
I
can
want,
get.
I want the full fucking effect here. I'm going to read this right off my phone. Now, I just had two people send this to me, and I'm going to read it to you.
Okay.
Elections in France. Projections show voters rejecting the far right. Voters turned out in numbers not seen in decades to stop the far right national rally from taking power in the French National Assembly. Polls predicted a first place finish for National Rally, which instead appeared on track for a third place finish. People, you know what? All of the polls in France said they were going to the right. The people said no. We must say no here, okay? Everybody around the world is watching to see what the American people will do to stand up to what's going on here. If France can do it, they gave us the Statue of Liberty. We can do it here.
And by the way, the reason I did this right here is because a ton of really good standout candidates can come from these types of watershed elections. This is when we get a new Bernie Sanders type or a new AOC or a new whoever. This is when we can get real leaders coming up. Now, I was looking for like up and comers and all that. Everybody's talking about the national race. Everybody's talking about 2028. Let's get through 2024 first and deal with what's going on now. In Great Britain, you see what's going on in Great Britain, in France. You see what's going on all around the world. We always talk about us being leaders. Let's show it. And as John Fetterman says, let's grow a set. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but let's just get it done. Biden has to win. We cannot abandon Senate candidates, House candidates, Assembly candidates. We cannot do it. We have to show the world that we have some adults in the room and can do the right thing.
It's now or never, folks. See you next week.